Hello everyone and welcome to today's podcast with me, Chris. The topic of today's podcast is formality. We're going to look at being polite when asking for something. And by the end of today's class, I'm going to introduce to you 6 different ways to ask for something politely. Now, as a British person, I think the British have a reputation for being polite. Is that true? Leave the comments in the section below. I just think that we're not necessarily more polite, but I think we're a little bit more indirect and we use different language to express things. I've lived in other countries and I've visited countless countries, and I think, as far as I know, we may use the word please a little bit more than in other languages. What do you think? So I'd like to begin by talking about the idea of formality. In language, we can talk about being formal or informal, and it depends on the situation and who you're talking to. We can also talk about being direct and indirect. So we're going to look at some sentences and we'll put them on this grid here, depending on their formality and their directness. So I can easily explain this to you by thinking about language when talking to different people. Let's imagine you're talking to your friends who you know. Would you be more direct or would you be more indirect? Would you tend to be formal or informal? Well, most people would probably be quite direct and they'd probably be informal. However, if they were friends who were quite new, maybe you've met them for the first time, then maybe you'd still be direct but a little bit more formal. Whereas if they're your partner's parents, you'd certainly want to be more formal and more indirect. I hope that makes sense. Let's move on and look at some examples. Picture the scene, you're at a dinner party with some friends, and you're the person sitting at this end of the table, and you notice that at the other end of the table you can see the salt. Let's practice the pronunciation of the word salt. 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 Now in this situation, it would be a bit impolite to reach and try to get the salt, so you might want to use some language, and the language would be pass. Okay, the verb is to pass. So the salt is here, and you would say to your friend, pass and can. How do you make a sentence with these two words? Well, if you look at the letters below, we can say, can you pass me the salt? Can you pass me the salt? Can you pass me the salt? Practice that together. Can you pass me the salt? Can you pass me the salt, please? Can you pass me the salt? Practice that one now. Can you pass me the salt? Now, another word that you may want to use, a second word, would be the word could. And we use it in exactly the same way. Could you pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? Did you hear the contraction of could you becomes could ya? Could you pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? Let's practice that together. Could you pass me the salt, please? Now, I'd like to think about how we could use those two words on this chart. First of all, can you? Is it more direct or is it more indirect? Is it formal or informal? Remember, this is not an exact science, it's an approximation. I think it's a little bit more direct, but not really formal and not really informal. So can you pass me the salt? Whereas could you, we know that the word could expresses something which is hypothetical, so it becomes a little bit more formal. Could you pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? Still quite direct, but more formal than can. Let's take a look at a different sentence. What do you think these letters are? Try to guess. Think about what they could be. Well, we can see the word salt and the and me. So the sentence is simply pass me the salt, please. 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 Let's practice that together. Pass me the salt, please. Okay, everything clear so far? We'll have a look at another example. What do you think these letters are? Now, I can see pass the salt, or me, or we can see you. What do you think the word W is? Let's have a look. Oh, it's a different sentence today. Would you mind? Would you mind? And I want to pay attention to the pass. It's always in the ing form. When we have the word mind, mind is plus ing. Mind doing, mind seeing, mind watching, mind playing. Let's practice this sentence. Would you mind passing the salt, please? Would you mind passing the salt, please? Let's try now. Would you mind passing the salt? Would you mind passing the salt? So I'd like to look at this on the chart again. Pass me the salt, please. Is it formal or informal, direct or indirect? Well, it's very direct and it's probably very informal. It's almost like a command. Whereas, would you mind passing the salt would certainly be more formal and more indirect. Let's change the situation now. I'd like you to look at this picture, and we have a lady who's looking for something on a map. She's actually looking for the bank. So what can she say to somebody in the street? Well, she could say, tell me, and the word bank. Here's the first sentence. Can you tell me where the bank is? Remember, in English, if you're using a question word, the verb is would go at the end. Where the bank is. Can you tell me where the bank is? A bit faster. Can you tell me where the bank is? Let's practice that. Can you tell me where the bank is? 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 The next one is just the same, and it's could. So we say, could you tell me where the bank is? And remember that the short form is could you. Could you tell me where the bank is? Let's practice that. Could you tell me where the bank is? Could you tell me where the bank is? The third one is almost like the command again. Tell me where the bank is, please. Tell me where the bank is, please. Tell me where the bank is, please. Practice. Tell me where the bank is, please. And number 4, remember, would you mind plus telling. Would you mind telling me where the bank is? And would you becomes would you. Would you mind? Let's practice. Would you mind? Would you mind telling me? Would you mind telling me? Would you mind telling me where the bank is? Would you mind telling me where the bank is? Okay, number 5. Number 5 is the following sentence. This one is, would you be able to? Would you be able to? Would you be able to pass the salt, please? Let's practice it. Would you be able to pass the salt, please? Would you be able to pass the salt, please? And number 6 is, ooh, it's a really long sentence. Really long. Can you guess what the letters are? Let's practice it together. It's, would you be so kind as? Would you be so kind as? Would you be so kind as to? Would you be so kind as to? Would you be so kind as to pass me the salt, please? Here's the sentence. Would you be so kind as to pass me the salt, please? Let's practice. Would you be so kind as to pass me the salt, please? And let's try without the sentence. Would you be so kind as to pass me the salt, please? Let's go back to our diagram and put the sentences on. So would you be able to? Would you be able to? That one is going to be quite indirect and becoming quite formal, whereas would you be so kind as to is certainly more indirect and even more formal. I hope they were useful sentences for you. Let's practice them using the word bank. Do you remember our situation with the word bank? Here are our 6 sentences. The first one, we're going to practice them together. I will say it and you just need to repeat it. Can you tell me where the bank is? 2. Could you tell me where the bank is? 3. Where is the bank, please? 4. Would you mind telling me where the bank is, please? 5. Would you be able to tell me where the bank is? 6. Would you be so kind as to tell me where the bank is, please? Would you be so kind as to tell me where the bank is, please? The last one is really hard, but you have to know it because in future, if you're in the street in an English-speaking country, somebody may come up to you and ask you this question. All right? Please practice them. As I said, it's really important to notice the difference. So remember, send me the email before Friday is very different from, would you mind sending me the email before Friday, please? One of them is quite direct and the other one is much more formal. So you would use that when you're writing to somebody that you don't know. Would you mind giving me a call tomorrow, please? Would you mind moving your chair, please? Lots of different ways that you can use it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you found this useful. A reminder for you, I make all these videos for free, so I rely on you guys to share them, please. Please share them with all your friends if you think it's useful. Tell them about my Instagram account and get them to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Wishing you a nice week. Take care. See you soon.